My parents stole Yale from me. And no, that's not an exaggeration. They didn't forget to help, or couldn't afford it. They chose not to. They deliberately took the money that was supposed to be for my tuition, money we had talked about, saved for, fought over, and handed it over to my brother in the form of a shiny new BMW. That was the night I realized I was never the favorite child. Maybe I never even really felt like their child at all. I was 18. I had just gotten the email every overachiever dreams about. Congratulations, Amelia Carter. The words were glowing on my laptop screen, crisp and beautiful, proof that every late night, every hour I'd worked instead of hanging out with friends, every sacrifice was worth it. I got into Yale. For me, Yale wasn't just a school. It was a symbol. It was the ticket out of my small town, the golden key to a future my parents never thought I could have. I was the first in our family to even apply to an Ivy League. I should have been the pride of the household. Instead, I got silence. Yeah. My mom squinted at the acceptance letter like it was a bill. That's expensive. My dad grunted from his recliner without looking up from the TV. You sure you didn't apply somewhere more realistic? I laughed nervously. I mean, yeah, I got into a couple state schools too. But this is Yale. This is my dream. They exchanged a look I didn't understand at the time, a kind of quick glance, sharp and quiet, like they'd already decided something without me. You need to be reasonable, Amelia, my dad said. Dreams are nice, but dreams don't pay bills. I swallowed hard, but I forced a smile. I can apply for scholarships, loans. I'll get a job on campus. I'm not asking you to pay it all. Just help me with what we've been saving, like you said. My mom sighed like I was being exhausting. We'll talk about it later. I should have known right then, but I was so blinded by my excitement, so desperate to hold on to that feeling of victory, that I let it slide. That night, though, everything cracked open. I was lying in bed, staring at the ceiling, replaying congratulations in my head like a song on repeat, when I heard their voices downstairs. At first it was just muffled, then words began to cut through. We'll use the money for Ryan, my mom whispered. My dad's voice followed, low and certain. Yeah, he needs it more. College is wasted on her anyway. My stomach dropped. My chest tightened. I sat up in bed, heart hammering. What money? I crept to the top of the stairs, holding my breath. She thinks we've been saving for her, Mom said. But Ryan needs the car now. He's got places to be. He deserves it. And Amelia? She'll get over it. My entire body went cold. The next morning, I thought maybe I dreamed it. Maybe my brain was playing tricks on me, until I stepped outside. And there it was, a shiny, jet black BMW 3 Series parked in the driveway. Still smelling like new leather, still with the dealer's plate on it. Ryan, my older brother by 2 years, leaned against the hood with the smuggest grin I'd ever seen. Like it, he asked, twirling the keys around his finger. Mom and Dad finally came through for me. I froze, staring at the car. The numbers ran through my head instantly. $45,000. That was almost exactly the cost of my first year at Yale. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't move. My own brother's smirk blurred in front of me, as my eyes filled with hot, stinging tears. He revved the engine, loud and showy, like he knew exactly what he was doing. Guess I'm the golden child after all. The sound of that engine felt like the sound of my dream being ripped apart. And right then, I made myself a silent promise. If they thought I'd just get over it, they didn't know me at all. The day after Ryan's new BMW appeared in the driveway, the silence in our house was deafening. Not because anyone felt guilty. Oh no, my parents didn't even pretend to be guilty, but because I couldn't trust myself to open my mouth without screaming. Every time I saw Ryan twirl those stupid car keys, it was like he was twirling a knife into my gut. Don't look so bitter, sis, he smirked one morning as I stood by the kitchen counter trying to swallow down burnt toast. It's not like you were gonna make it at Yale anyway. I clenched my fists under the table so hard my nails dug half moons into my palms. What's that supposed to mean? Ryan shrugged, biting into an apple like he was in some car commercial. I mean, you're smart, sure. But Yale? That's for people with connections. Money, you'd just embarrass yourself. My mom chuckled from the sink. He's not wrong, Amelia. We're just being practical. You'll thank us later when you're not drowning in debt. Practical. That was their word. Practical to crush my dream. Practical to hand my future over to my brother's leather seats and Bluetooth stereo system. I finally snapped. So you're telling me the money, the college fund you've been talking about since I was 10, went to this. I jabbed a finger toward the window, where Ryan's car gleamed smugly in the morning light. My dad lowered his newspaper, raising an eyebrow. Watch your tone. No, I want to hear it, I said, my voice trembling. You promised me. You said if I worked hard, kept my grades up, stayed out of trouble. You said Yale wasn't impossible. That's the only reason I killed myself these last 4 years. And now you're saying all that money went to a car. The silence was so heavy, I thought for a second, maybe I'd scared them. Maybe they'd realize how insane this was. But then my mom dried her hands on a towel, looked me dead in the eye, and said, Your brother deserves it more. I swear, for a split second, I forgot how to breathe. Ryan smirked like a cat who got the cream. See? Even they agree. I've got more potential than you, sis. You're book smart, sure, but I'm the one who's gonna carry this family name. The family name? I laughed bitterly. You barely passed high school. You spent more time partying than studying. You can't even hold a part-time job for more than a month. What potential are we talking about? His smirk faltered for half a second, but my dad's glare shut me up. That's enough, he said, voice low, warning. You should be grateful you even got accepted anywhere. Most kids would kill for a community college spot. The room spun. Community college? My voice cracked. Mom crossed her arms. Yes, that's where you'll go. It's affordable, it's close, and frankly, it's more your speed. We're not wasting money on some Ivy League fantasy just because you think you're better than the rest of us. I felt like the floor had disappeared under me. Just yesterday, I had been Yale-bound, dreaming of stone libraries and lecture halls. Now my entire future had been downgraded to a strip mall campus 5 minutes from home. I wanted to scream, to break something, to run away. But instead I sat there, numb, listening to Ryan crunch his stupid apple. Later that night, I sat in my car, my beat-up, hand-me-down, duct-taped together junker of a car, and stared at Yale's acceptance letter on my phone. My chest ached so bad, it felt like someone had their hands around my throat. Every line of the letter mocked me now. We're thrilled to welcome you. You've earned this opportunity. You belong here, except apparently I didn't. Not to my parents, not in my own family. I pressed my forehead to the steering wheel and whispered, Why him? Why not me? I didn't have an answer. But I knew one thing. If I stayed silent, if I let them take Yale away from me without a fight, then maybe they were right. Maybe I wasn't strong enough. And I wasn't about to let Ryan be the golden child forever. That night, I swore to myself, if I can't have Yale handed to me, then I'll find another way in. And when I do, they'll regret every single choice they made. But in the meantime, I was trapped at a community college I never wanted, trapped under the same roof as the family who betrayed me, trapped watching Ryan polish his BMW like it was a trophy of my failure. I didn't know it then, but the more trapped I felt, the more dangerous I was becoming. Because when you push someone into a corner, they either break or they fight. And I wasn't going to break. You ever have a moment where reality slaps you so hard across the face that you actually go numb? That was me. Standing in my own living room, listening to my parents justify selling off my dream so Ryan could cruise around town in his shiny new BMW. It started small. I came home from class, community college, of course, the one they'd shoved me into like it was a consolation prize, and Ryan was in the driveway. He had the hood popped open, blasting music through the car's speakers like he was auditioning for some kind of Rich Kid of Instagram parody. He spotted me walking up the sidewalk and grinned. Hey, Yale reject. My hands tightened around the straps of my backpack. Don't call me that. What? He shrugged, leaning casually against the car. It's not an insult if it's true. I kept walking, but he wasn't done. He revved the engine, making the ground tremble. You should thank me, you know. If Mom and Dad had wasted that money on you, it'd be gone in a year. This is an investment. I froze. The words hit me like glass shattering. Investment. That was the exact language I'd heard whispered downstairs weeks ago. I spun around. What do you mean? Investment. Ryan smirked, twirling his keys like he'd been waiting for me to ask. They told me, college isn't for you. You're the type to get lost in books and come out with nothing but debt. Me? I'm the future of this family. I've got potential. I've got drive. I'll make something of myself. So the car? It's theirs and mine. An investment in me. I swear, for a second, I couldn't hear anything but the rush of blood in my ears. Are you kidding me? My voice cracked. louder than I intended. You barely scraped through high school. You failed algebra twice. You've been fired from every job you've ever had. And they think you're the investment? His grin widened, cruel and sharp. Guess that makes you the waste of money. Something inside me snapped. I stormed inside, dropping my backpack so hard it thudded against the wall. My parents were in the kitchen. My mom was scrolling on her tablet. Dad nursing a beer. Why him? I demanded. My voice shook, but I didn't care. Why Ryan? Why his car instead of my future? They both looked up like I was interrupting something trivial. Amelia, my dad sighed, rubbing his forehead. Not this again. Yes, this again, I shouted. Do you even realize what you've done? I got into Yale. Yale. People dream their whole lives about this. And you threw it away for a car. For him. Mom set her tablet down, her expression cold. Watch your tone. No. My throat burned. You promised me. You said if I worked hard, if I got the grades, the scholarships, you'd help me. I held up my end of the deal. I earned Yale. And you still chose him. Silence stretched for a beat too long. Then my dad's voice cut through like ice. Because Ryan has a future. The words didn't even make sense at first. Excuse me? You're smart, Amelia, he said, almost like it was an insult. Too smart for your own good, but you don't have what it takes. You're not practical. You think books and classrooms are going to save you, Ryan. He's the one with charisma, with presence. He can make something of himself. People like him. That's why we're investing in him. I actually laughed. It burst out of me, bitter and hollow. People like him. People use him. He's lazy. He's arrogant. He's nothing without someone handing things to him. And you're feeding that. Mom crossed her arms, eyes narrowing. Careful. That's your brother you're talking about. No, I shot back. That's your golden child. Your golden boy who gets everything, while I get scraps. The words hung heavy in the air. My chest heaved. My eyes burned. For a second I thought maybe, just maybe, they'd realize how cruel they were being. But instead, Ryan strolled in, jingling his keys, grinning like the devil himself. She figured it out, he announced proudly. Guess we can stop pretending now. My mom actually smiled at him. Smiled. Go on, honey. Tell her. Ryan leaned against the counter, looking me dead in the eye. You were never going to Yale, not while I needed this. They told me weeks ago they'd use the money for me, because I matter more. The room tilted. My knees nearly buckled. They said it out loud? I whispered. Ryan smirked. Word for word. I looked at my parents, desperate for denial, for some shred of love, but my dad just shrugged, and my mom picked up her tablet again. That was it. That was their final answer. I wasn't their future. I wasn't even their equal. I was expendable. And in that moment, something inside me crystallized. The grief, the rage, the betrayal. It all hardened into one sharp, undeniable truth. If they thought Ryan was their investment, then fine. But one day, when their golden boy crumbled, I'd be the one standing tall, and they'd choke on their regret. I thought losing Yale was the bottom, but I was wrong. Because the real bottom wasn't the letter or even the car. The real bottom was watching my brother laugh at me from behind the wheel while I dragged myself to a community college I never even wanted. Community college wasn't bad in itself. There were good people there. People just trying to get an education. But for me, it felt like punishment. Every hallway smelled like bleach and disappointment. The classrooms were small, the walls beige, the kind of place that whispered, "You didn't make it." And the worst part, everyone knew. Whispers followed me from the moment I walked in. Isn't that the girl who got into Yale? Why's she here then? Maybe it was a lie. Their words clung to me, heavier than my textbooks. I kept my head down, but inside, I was burning. One afternoon, I was walking across the parking lot, juggling books and an empty stomach, when I heard the familiar growl of an engine. Ryan's BMW. He slowed down just enough to make sure I saw him. The sun glinted off the shiny hood, and there he was, smirking, sunglasses perched like he was in a movie. He rolled the window down, "Hey, Yale reject!" he shouted loud enough for everyone around to hear. A few people turned their heads. I froze. "You want a ride?" "Oh wait, you can't afford it." He laughed and sped off, the car roaring like it was mocking me too. My classmates laughed under their breath. I wanted to disappear. My face burned hot, my throat tight, but I held my chin high and walked inside. I wouldn't give him the satisfaction of seeing me break. That night, at dinner, Ryan retold the story like it was the funniest thing he'd ever said. Amelia looked like she was about to cry in the parking lot. He snorted, spooning mashed potatoes onto his plate. Mom chuckled. Dad shook his head with that fake disappointed smile. "Amelia, you need to learn to laugh at yourself sometimes," Dad said. "Exactly," Mom added. "Don't be so serious. Ryan's just joking." I gripped my fork so hard I thought it would snap. Joke? They had stolen Yale from me. They had stolen my future. And now it was just a family joke. I excused myself before they could see the tears. To make ends meet, I picked up shifts at a coffee shop near campus. The hours were brutal, juggling classes and work. I'd come home after midnight, hands sticky with syrup, my clothes smelling of burnt espresso, while Ryan slept peacefully in his leather-seated BMW parked in the driveway. I was wiping down sticky counters and praying I'd have enough energy to get through my classes. And yet, my parents never asked how I was doing, never said thank you. But Ryan, he was their golden child, their walking trophy. Every family dinner turned into a highlight reel of his life. "Oh, Ryan, you're so responsible with your car. Ryan, I heard the neighbors say you looked so mature driving around town." I wanted to scream. You didn't buy him responsibility. You bought him privilege. You bought him my future. But then, something shifted. It was a Thursday afternoon, and I was in my English class. The professor, Dr. Keller, was handing back essays. When he got to me, he didn't just drop the paper on my desk like everyone else. He paused. "You," he said, tapping the corner of my paper. This is Ivy League writing." I blinked, not sure I heard him right. "You don't belong here," he continued, softer now. "Not because you're not good enough, because you're better than this place. Don't let anyone convince you otherwise." I couldn't speak. My throat closed up. My chest felt like it might explode. All I could do was nod, clutching that paper like it was a lifeline. That night, lying in bed with my cheap desk lamp buzzing overhead, I whispered to myself, "They may have clipped my wings, but I'll still learn to fly." It wasn't much, just a spark. But sparks start fires, and mine was just beginning. I used to cry myself to sleep, but at some point, the tears ran out, and what replaced them wasn't peace. It was fire. The night Dr. Keller told me I didn't belong at community college, something inside me snapped into place. For the first time, someone believed in me, not as Ryan's sister, not as the girl who couldn't afford Yale, but as me. I stayed up that night with my laptop open, staring at the blinking cursor on a blank screen. I wasn't just going to sit back and watch my life rot. If Yale was gone, I'd build something better. So I made a decision. If my parents had taken my future, I'd make one without them. I threw myself into work. I applied for scholarships. I networked with professors. I volunteered for extra credit, stacked internships, anything that could put me in a different league. My days blurred together. Classes, coffee shop shifts, late nights at the library. Exhaustion pressed down on me like a weight. But underneath it all, a new energy was building. Because every step I took forward was one step away from the prison my family had built for me. Ryan, of course, didn't notice. He was too busy showing off his car on Instagram, taking mirror selfies with his sunglasses on, posting captions like "Born to Win." Sometimes when I was wiping down tables at the coffee shop, I'd see him cruise by, music blasting, like the world was his stage. And my parents? They cheered him on, blind to how shallow it all was. But here's the thing about being overlooked. People underestimate you. One afternoon, I was in the library when a student sat across from me. I recognized her immediately. She'd transferred from Yale after deciding it wasn't the right fit. We talked. She told me stories about the campus, the professors, the opportunity. And with every word, I felt that ache again, But instead of breaking me, it fueled me. If Yale was a door slammed shut, I'd climb through the window. So I asked her for advice, connections, anything. And to my surprise, she helped. She even slipped me the email of someone running a competitive fellowship program, something that could put me on the same playing field as Ivy League students. That was my first secret weapon. And then came the second. One night, at dinner, Dad was bragging about Ryan's car again, how responsible he was for getting the oil changed on time. I bit my tongue, but then Ryan made a mistake. He said something about needing another upgrade soon. My mom laughed and said, "Well, if you keep doing so well, who knows? Maybe we'll help you again." I froze. Again. That's when it clicked. My parents weren't just going to hand him my Yale money. They were going to keep feeding him more cars, more favors, more everything. Unless I stopped them. That night, lying in bed, I whispered the same words again. They clipped my wings, but I'll still learn to fly. Only this time, I added something new. And when I do, I'll burn the nest behind me. When you've been treated like nothing your whole life, the sweetest revenge isn't shouting, it's silence. Because silence means you're working. And I was working harder than I ever had before. By the time Ryan was on his third set of custom rims for his BMW, I was juggling 3 internships, barely slept. My backpack was a war zone of notes, applications, and half-eaten granola bars. But every sacrifice was fuel. Every all-nighter was another step closer to freedom. And the best part? My parents had no idea. At home, they still looked at me so I was just existing, the spare child, the placeholder. They thought I was still struggling through community college, barely hanging on. Meanwhile, behind their backs, I was climbing. The fellowship program I'd applied to, I got in. Out of hundreds of students across the country, they picked me. It came with mentorship, connections, even funding. Suddenly, I was attending conferences where Yale kids were, and I wasn't just keeping up. I was standing out. One professor pulled me aside after my presentation and said, "You have a fire in you the others don't lose it." I went home that night and stared at myself in the mirror. For the first time in months, I didn't see the girl who'd been robbed. I saw someone dangerous. Someone unstoppable. Meanwhile, Ryan's success was starting to crack. Sure, he had the car, the looks, the Instagram followers, but underneath it all, he was shallow. No work ethic, no vision. Just expensive toys. And toys break. One evening, I was in my room working on a grant application when I heard shouting downstairs. Ryan had gotten a speeding ticket, a big one. Insurance was about to skyrocket. He was begging my parents for help. "Please, Dad, they're going to suspend my license. Why didn't you think about that before flooring it on the highway?" Dad snapped. Ryan's voice cracked. "Come on, you can cover it. Just this once." I sat at the top of the stairs, listening. And when Dad finally sighed and said, "Fine, but this is the last time," I smiled in the dark. Because I knew it wasn't the last time. It was never the last time with Ryan. He would keep falling, and they would keep catching him. While I was learning how to fly. The real turning point came months later. I was offered a transfer, not to Yale, but to another prestigious university with a full scholarship. The kind of school that would open doors the same way Yale would have. When I opened the acceptance letter, I didn't cry, I didn't scream. I just sat there smiling, imagining the look on my parents' faces when they realized the disposable child had built her own empire. I didn't tell them right away, no, I kept it quiet, because revenge isn't served hot. It's served ice cold. The day I left for my new university, I didn't tell my parents where I was really going. I let them believe I was still stuck at community college, still the quiet background character to Ryan's main act. They didn't even bother to drive me. I packed my bags in silence, climbed into the bus, and disappeared. And honestly, that was the sweetest freedom I'd ever felt. The next 2 years were a blur of victory. Professors who believed in me, internships that turned into offers, networking events where I was the one everyone wanted to talk to. While Ryan, his car became a burden. Tickets piled up, repairs drained his bank account. The flashy status symbol that once made him untouchable now just made him broke. And every time he stumbled, my parents bailed him out. Every single time. Meanwhile, I didn't ask them for a single dime. I didn't need to. Because I was building something bigger than their approval. The real moment came at graduation. Not Ryan's, mine. I was chosen as the commencement speaker. Thousands of people in the audience, cameras rolling, my name on the program. I stood on that stage, in my cap and gown, and looked out at the crowd. And who did I see in the audience? My parents, Ryan, sitting there stunned, because they had no idea. No idea that the backup child was the one delivering the speech. No idea that the disposable daughter had outshined the golden boy. I took a deep breath and began my speech. I was told once that I didn't belong, I said, my voice steady. That I wasn't enough. That my dreams were too big, too expensive, too impossible. And for a long time I believed it. Until I realized they weren't right. They were just afraid of what I could become. Every word was true. Every word was. And when the crowd rose in a standing ovation, I locked eyes with my parents. For the first time in my life, they looked small. After the ceremony, they tried to smile, tried to congratulate me, like they'd been supportive all along. Amelia, why didn't you tell us? Mom asked. Dad nodded. We would have been so proud. I cut them off. Proud? You used my Yale tuition to buy Ryan a car. You laughed while he mocked me. You told me I wasn't enough. You don't get to be proud now. They froze. Ryan's jaw clenched, but for once he had no comeback. I looked at them one last time and said the words I'd been waiting years to say. You clipped my wings, but I learned how to fly anyway. And now, you'll never be able to catch me. Then I walked away. That was the last real conversation I had with them. And honestly, I don't regret it, because I learned that family isn't always blood. It's the people who believe in you when no one else does. It's the mentors, the friends, the strangers who see your worth before you can see it yourself. My parents taught me nothing about love, but they taught me everything about survival. And Ryan? He's still stuck in the same town, still posting selfies with a car he can barely afford. Meanwhile, I'm free. Free and finally flying.